Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Expertise Podcast, where I have the opportunity to interview people that I've engaged and worked with over the past few months and to talk about the progress and talk about where we're at with their whole process and developing their program, because that's what I do, is to help people transform their expertise into a monetizable product that they can sell on a bigger marketplace. Today, I have the opportunity to interview Genie Joseph, who is CEO of the Human Animal Connection, has written a book, is publishing a book, which will be out in the next few months. But we have had the opportunity to work together to put together a program so she can put her expertise in a different format so people can consume it in a different way and actually have actionable things to put with their human animal connection, in addition to reading the book. So Genie, welcome to the podcast. And I just ask that you give us an introduction of yourself and your business.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm Genie Joseph, and I'm the executive director of a new nonprofit called the Human Animal Connection, which is also the name of my book. And we bring people and animals together for the healing of both. And working with you, Shelby, you've been like my hero, because those of us who have just so much content and things to share, sometimes we don't always know, what to focus on first, or what avenue to direct our media, or, really what strategy we should use to connect with the public. And so you've been just a godsend and kind of asking me all the tough questions, things that I didn't have answers to, who's your audience? It may sound easy, but when you really start to think about it, it can, it takes a lot of clarity and things like, well, what are you offering them? Like, what is their problem? And how are you going to solve their problem? And, very basic questions that really take you to task to really be clear about who you are and what you're offering to the public, so you can connect in a way that really meets their needs. So that has been just a joyous process for me.
That is just awesome to hear, because that's what I want to do. I want to be able to help your ideas connect with an audience and provide that transformation. And so it's great to hear. And I have noticed that over the past few months, as we're working together, it's become much more clear. And you've written a book, a very extensive book, and it's coming out in the next couple months, which is about the broad human animal connection. But now we're focusing on just one thing. And then there's another program, and then there's another program. So it just is all about how you're going to meet the needs of your audience. So great to hear about the clarity. And there's definitely been a refinement of your brand in this process. And I think that is key. So I want to talk about, because you have written a book, and I want to talk about this transition between a book and a program. And can you talk to me about that process and how that process has been for you as a participant in the process?
Yeah. So for our, the human animal connection is like a transformational philosophy. I mean, there's so much information.
Right.
And so what you really helped me to do is say, okay, well, let's look at, like, for example, we're talking about now doing a program called Could My Dog Be a Therapy Dog? Which is something that I think a lot of people wonder about. They have a wonderful, loving dog that loves to meet people, loves to cuddle, so joyous. Is that dog a candidate for doing therapy dog work, like we do in the high schools, like we do with the veterans, like we do with soldiers? And so, just really focusing some of our energy in this one specific area has been really an exciting challenge, because I think as someone who has very passionate, a visionary, it's very easy to go, well, I have some this idea and this idea and this idea, and that's all true, but let's do one at a time. How can we meet people where they are, in terms of what their need is? My need is to know whether or not, how do I take my pet dog and, could that dog become a therapy dog and go out into the world and meet people and really just melt hearts wherever they go. And so people need to understand, what are the steps? First you do this, and then you do that, and then you need this. And, they need a step-by-step. So you really helped me take, this huge amount of information and really turn it into a 1, 2, 3 step process.
Oh, that's great to hear. It is, I an author myself, and I come from the background of academics, and I know you have been through you've been the whole way through academics. So that when you write a lot, we need to write a lot. We need to justify our arguments. We need to put in a lot of information and how important that is. And really, when we step back and we think about an audience consuming that information, then we have to be much more direct and much more focused and much more, less information is more, but more directed information is preferred for sure.
Yeah, it's all focus, which is, kind of one of our principles in the human animal connection is the power of focus. And, you sort of help me use my own philosophy, apply it.
Yes.
We're also talking about a special teen program. So that will be book number 2 is it,
Right.
book for teens. And we have these animal wisdom cards for teens, and just really looking at how can we take this, encyclopedic amount of information and put it into a blog or a simple or a video or, a post. And that is, really something we all need help with. I mean, people who have a lot of information don't always know the best way to structure that information, how to dose it out in the right dose. It's like any medicine, too much is too much.
That's a great analogy. It's yes, you have 350 pages in your book, and it's a lot of information, but you don't need all that information. There's a way to do that. And that's another thing too that I think is really great about your project, is that we started off with like, well, let's do a program with the human animal connection, and then we delved it down to one thing. But then in that process, you develop ideas for different streams of income out of that, whether it's a different program or it's a webinar series or whatever that is. And in the process of diluting through the information, or not diluting through, but focusing the information, then you discover those different opportunities.
Yeah. In fact, I forgot to tell you, but using your method, I created 2 programs. One was called The Power of Presence, and we work with horses, and it's teaching people how to just be here and now and be present for the horse. And we have this one wonderful horse named Ralph. Or Ralph is not his real name, he told me, but anyway, Ralph is the name he has. But he was a former racehorse who was sold for $65,000 originally, and he had so many injuries after racing that he was just passed from barn to barn. I think that's how he got the name Ralph. But he was given away finally for free to a blind woman, that was just like a hopeless cause. Anyway, long story short, I've been working with him. He is the most beautiful therapy horse now. And so we do our class, The Power of Presence. We're all sitting in a circle. We take one chair out, and that's Ralph's spot. And he sits with us for the whole class. And it's just beautiful to just be in his presence, this beautiful horse that has a role model for healing, is a role model for us, because he's just turned around. Yeah. And then we did another class, or we're starting another class actually in August this month, and it's called The Sense of Safety. And one of the things I realized in working with 4,000 service members and people with PTSD, veterans, is that if you don't feel safe, nothing else is going to work. So safety is really the foundation. And this is true when I work with the shelter dogs who are shy and traumatized, as well as with people. So again, working with the horses, we are experiencing the physicality of safety, even if you can only feel it in your pinky finger. You can only feel that your pinky is safe. And then we just expand that so that the nervous system begins to recognize what safety is and resets.
And you talk about that work like in a small group and how powerful that is to do that. And that's such a transformative experience when you're there and you're live. But the opportunity that you have with that, with these programs and courses that we're putting together, is that so many more people can experience that kind of transformation that aren't in that physical setting. They can do it on their own. So I'm just really excited that we can provide that for other people, because I know that's part of your mission, is to be able to.
In fact, we're just going to start either in a month or 2 working with veterans who are on the East Coast. I'm in Arizona, but we're going to be doing equine therapy over Zoom.
Awesome.
And working on the sense of safety. And so it's like, you think, well, don't you have to be next to the horse? Well, it's nice to be next to the horse, but if you can't be next to the horse, the next best thing is to see how we work with the horse, and they're working with themselves while they're watching us work with the horse. So it's exciting what we can do in this world nowadays.
It is. And that which makes those kind of online, alive and online programs so important, because then the transformation doesn't just have to happen in your center. You can take it elsewhere. And I think that's so powerful. So
yeah, I mean, our goal really is to transform the way people relate to animals. So that's a worldwide mission. So, it really involves being able to communicate using different media, different programs, different methods. And that's what you've really helped me with, is to kind of look beyond the book world. I'm glad to have a book out, but I know that not everybody's a reader. So, we need all these different ways to reach people in the ways that their hearts are open.
absolutely. Oh, I'm so excited. I'm excited for it to come out. It's going to be out this fall. We're going to do it. We've got the content almost put together, and we're at the video stage, and that's going to be really exciting when that can happen.
Yeah.
Well, Jeannie, is there anything else you'd like to tell our listeners about the process of working with me and working with my team, putting your content together? Anything that we haven't talked about already?
Well, I think it's been really great to have a team, because instead of like hiring, 10 different contractors to do 10 different things, it's really been nice to kind of have everybody talk to each other, in terms of, this is what the cover is. What do you think of the cover? And this is the layout. What do you think of the layout? And, this is what we're thinking for social media. And to be able to kind of have a team with you and with, everybody that I've been working with,
Sure.
Bonnie and Susie and Chris at Jet Launch, and Debbie Byrne, who did the cover, which I just love. Everybody loves the cover. It's so important to be in love with your cover.
It is. Yes, absolutely.
If you're not in love with your cover, it's really hard to stand up there and say, oh, this is my book. It has to be like, oh my God, this is my book.
Yeah.
So it just really feels good to have that kind of network of people that everybody's talking to each other, and there's coordination, and I'm not getting misinformation. It's so easy to get, one piece of information from this expert, another thing exactly the opposite from this other one. But this is, it's been great to work with you as a team and really get on the same page.
That's a great piece of information to be involved with too, because my business is involved with the Rogue Publishing Partners, which Susie, who's my publisher, we're all interconnected in that group, and it's just nice to be able to have that unified front to be able to best serve clients. And I think
it's really awful for an author out there without, if you have a big publishing house, they're making all the decisions, but you as an author, if you're self-publishing, you're making the decisions, but you really need experts to say, hey, I don't think that color works, or,
right.
in a gentle way, not the way a publisher would just tell you what's what, but, where you really are making the decisions, but with a team of experts that are guiding you from some of the terrible pitfalls. There's so many mistakes that a new author can make if they're starting out with self-publishing, so many decisions that you think are good and turn out not to be good. And if you have people who know how to gently say, okay, well, could you just consider this,
right,
as partners, as teammates, rather than as top down, telling you what to do,
absolutely.
Some of us don't like.
Right. Working with experts, making sure everything is aligned, all of those things are so important. Well, Jeannie, thank you for coming on to this interview today. We'll make sure that all of your information about the human animal connection and your contact information is in the posting about everything. We'll also make sure that people have connection to your publishing partners in the Rogue Publishing Partners. You can find everybody in that space and on that website, Susie Schaefer and Chris O'Byrne, and we make sure and myself, we're all in that site, and we'll make sure that we have all that information available so we can encourage other experts to do what you are doing, which is making an imprint with your expertise and your influence. It's makes a big difference. So thank you for coming to the interview today, and it's been a pleasure to work with you.
Thank you.
All right.